So the one thing that I'm not going to tell a pro player what to do, because there's always different scenarios at which lengths you do things. I know this is long. I'm going to make it real quick, though. But when he used the fault line when Skadoodle got killed, that alone took away so many other options that they could have reused. Now,
Vansilli, we've definitely been, we've made a name for ourselves on this podcast, just having garbage takes and obviously going on long rants. But we have an opportunity here to actually increase the grey matter density of each other and our viewers. You have been out there, you know, obviously watching plenty of these games, and obviously you take a more analytical slant towards your commentary and also the way you look at the game. You have cooked something up in the analysis kitchen for us.
Yes.
Serve it up, baby. Let's go.
Boy. So I wanted to try things out a little bit different here for Do Not Peek. I really love the segments that Mitchman does and that CSGO already has with Sponge. With Weatherman, exactly, Chad, with the Weatherman segment. So I wanted to cook one up here for a quick round between 100 Thieves and T1. It's their pistol round for first strike in the quarterfinal, of Haven. And although that T1 lost that pistol round, I still think that their setup was really great. So I made a clip about it, and I wanted to also emphasize where it slipped and wanted to know your thoughts. So let's go ahead and watch that. Now, to start things off, let's give some context here. We are in the pistol round between 100 Thieves and T1, which means you start with 800 credits T1 on the attacker side. Keep in mind then that you only start here with 800 credits. So with 800 credits as a Killjoy, what you could actually afford here, as you could see at the bottom of the screen, is going to be light armor, nanoswarm, and alarm bot. Braxton uses a nanoswarm to clear out the back of the C platform while T1 executes into the site. And as you see that the site is clear, Skadoodle goes for the plant, and at the same time, you see now from the point of view of Skadoodle that Brax is currently moving in to place an alarm bot right where the spike is. As we fast forward a bit into the round, you'll notice now that we have a 3-on-2 situation in favor of T1. And T1, although low on HP, are still in a great position to win this round because of the position that they currently have on this minimap, playing on the outside of the map at Long C to cover the spike. One thing that's important is that you'll notice in this X-ray is that Daze is actually facing the wall. The reason why is because he actually has set darts, shock darts, that's going to bounce off the wall and land right onto the spike. The most important detail to pay attention to, though, is where Brax currently is positioned. He's actually positioned outside of the radius of where the alarm bot is currently in range for it to be activated, so that he gives the impression that the alarm bot is not going to be a threat to Hiko or Nitro trying to come back into the site. And the reason why they do that, in my opinion, I could be overanalyzing this, but is when you're actually walking into this area and it actually doesn't ring, you don't think it's a threat, so you're actually not going to shoot it. So when the defender is actually going to smoke towards the front of the site, or if there's another smoke from Nitro, if it recharges and he smokes towards the defuse, then Brax could actually start walking into the radius, and as soon as he walks into the radius, it's going to activate the alarm bot. Now, this could trigger two scenarios. The first scenario at this point is that the alarm bot gets triggered, it gets shot, and then you already have an idea that they are already off the spike. So Daze doesn't have to shoot the first dart right away. Or the other combination would be if somebody went onto the spike and they actually held it to at least get it a halfway. When Brax walks into range and it activates the alarm bot, you're already going to receive double damage as the diffuser. So when you actually eat a shock dart on the spot without an alarm bot, a debuff, it actually hits for 90. But when you actually get hit by a shock dart with the combination of an alarm bot, it actually hits for 180, which means that it would actually one-shot Hiko or a one-shot Nitro should they try to stick onto the spike. So the reason why this actually fails for T1 is because Brax was so sure that he was going to be able to kill Hiko as soon as his smoke dissipates that he kept shooting where Nitro just swung out and killed him instead. In hindsight, you probably would have wanted Brax to play in a position where he's not going to be threatened by any type of pressure coming in from Long C. So all he would need to do is walk into the radius of the alarm bot, and overall, T1 would trust that the shock darts from Daze would actually hit Hiko on a one-shot. And if it's not the case that it kills him, at least they know that he's off the spike, and they could play the time into their favor to hopefully win the pistol versus 100 Thieves.
It made a lot of sense.
It's there's so much to it, right? And like,
Yeah.
I noticed there as an analyst, you can't really assume that you know exactly what's going on in the player's head. But I want to know from you what your thoughts are. Or maybe Veli can help here. Is that why do you think Brax doesn't just rely on the fact that he has an alarm bot on the site? Why do you think he takes a challenge there?
So that's what I mentioned. You saw that the smoke dissipated right away, and that Hiko was already sticking on the spike. And by then, Nitro didn't white swing yet, right? So when Brax peeks forward and he's like, I have an open shot on Hiko no matter what. I could try to tap him and hopefully shoot him in the face long range. 2 taps to the face, you're dead. But by that timing of the frenzy that comes out from Nitro to body block the shots and to headshot Brax long range, it was a slip on Brax's side more than anything else.
You know, I look at that round in particular as like a running domino effect, right? Because let's be completely honest. So let's take a look at the setup. If I remember correctly, you have Skadoodle. He's going to be on site with Spider. Spider is going to be near that green box by no long whatever. Skadoodle, he's going to be at default box. Now, with that, when that was happening, they're really Skadoodle. He's roaming. He's not really looking at one particular area. So that leaves CT wide open, right? So that right there was already an L on T1 spot. Still, he jumped in. He was able to tag him and bag him. I think he tagged Spider, kills Skadoodle. Yeah, let's go ahead and watch it again. So that was the entry kill. The thing was, once Skadoodle died, that leaves Spider in an area where he could get peeked from 3 different angles, and that happened exactly because Spider is a god. And, you know, the fact that Vansilli, he co-signed for him so damn hard in first strike, and he went off. He got the 2K. He made this round almost possible. Correct. But coming in from Garage was the other Omen player that got the kill. It was definitely Nitro that got the kill. Yeah. So then you have 3 people long. So the one thing that I'm not going to tell a pro player what to do because there's always different scenarios at which lengths you do things. I know this is long. I'm going to make it real quick though. But when he used the fault line when Skadoodle got killed, that alone took away so many other options that they could have reused. Now, you take that out the equation. Why didn't 2 out of 3 people peek long at the same time? Why was it individual peaks? That's the biggest question in my eyes. I get what Sova was doing, but there was no unity on that. And because of that, Nitro was able to pop both of them and got a 2K. And then Hiko clutched out the round. It was just so much that went wrong. I actually feel bad for T1 right there.
Well, you had AZK in that Cubby FC side that was low on HP, and Daze was low on HP too. So trying to go for a double peek later would be detrimental on their positioning already post plan, and also was smoked on the top. So that's harder for them to fight. I think on the post plan too, to have Skadoodle and Spider there was just to try to do as much damage as they could while people were going for the retake, because you already had 3 players playing towards the back of the C side at long. So the 2 guys that planted and they're playing post plan close to the site, you want a crossfire to try to win those, and that's why the fault line also came in from AZK.
Yeah, I think it's insane that there's so much preset utility there.
Yeah, why use the fault line?
Well, I love that Nitro knows it's not enough for him to just trade or to bait Hiko there as he defuses and try and get a kill. He has to wide peek, take shots to try and keep Hiko alive. Now that doesn't work, of course, because there's actually a shock dart connection on Hiko. But the way Nitro plays, there's no bait mentality whatsoever. He just puts himself on the line there. So great to see that is just years and years and years of experience in that particular moment. That's a transferable skill from Counter-Strike as well, understanding how to play that.
And also, that's why like people were harping on Daze as like, why didn't he shoot both shock darts at the same time and kind of delayed and spaced out both shock darts? I really think it's the reason why they had that play with the alarm bot. And in that heat of the moment, right? It was 9-3 here for T1. We had a really bad half for Nitro. We had a bad half for Dicey too. I think they were like a 0-6 and 0-7 at some point, being brothers here from the Owen family. And there was a lot of pressure going into that. There is a potential that they slipped onto the alarm bot, and then all Brax had to do was walk into the range. And unfortunately, because he was so confident about hitting the shots, sometimes you do make those mistakes in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, mistakes happen. But the reason why that round was the most important one on Haven, because we have to put it out there as an over
100%.
The score was 3-9. T1 T1 was on their ass, man. And once they won that round, it was a 7-round win streak.
Correct.
They took the lead just by winning that pistol. Pistol's so important. Pistols
Yep.
is so important, Vans. I'm so happy you brought that round up to
Thank
for
you.
us to review.
And T1 only won one round out of that half too. They lost that map 13-10 in the end. So that round itself, and I even think maybe 1 or 2 rounds later, Hiko went for a full defuse on a 1v1 versus Brax to even get another round in for Haven for 100 Thieves. So it's been a lot of slip ups in that matchup, unfortunately for T1, but still great improvement from when we watched him like a month before that, because they were terrible a month before that.
They're so good now. I love T1, man.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't wait to see that rematch played out, you know, maybe in challenges as we go forward. So that's something to keep yourself excited for.